This is the MLWRadio.com network.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Eastern Lariat podcast, your show for news, notes, reviews, and opinions of the world of Japanese pro wrestling here on the MLW Radio Network, as well as on cagematch.net. I'm your host, STRIGGA, as always joined by my co-host, Dylan. And Dylan, what a week, huh?
The world of Japanese pro wrestling, it's interesting. It never stops, much like a world. I always say wrestling is a good microcosm of life itself. No matter what happens, everything never stops. And thankfully, everybody's here. Very happy to be doing a show. I didn't think it would be this soon, to be honest with you. But with so much happening, you made the executive decision to have another show. And I was very happy to do it, too. But,
I wasn't expecting that as well after last week's show. And I figured, the tag leagues were fine and stuff. And then news and announcements just kept crashing down on us, and it's been a crazy week, and it's only Wednesday, so we have a lot to digest here.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we start, I do want to start on a little serious topic right now. I want to shout out everybody who was messaging me after the recent tornadoes with my sister in Clarksville. She was really close by, and there was a lot of destruction in the city because of these tornadoes over the weekend. And like I said, some terrible things happened. So just want to say, if anybody can, check it out, see if you can support anything. My sister's friend had her home destroyed by a tornado. Yeah, because the thing is, when you're here, and again, we live in a place in America, I don't know if everybody's familiar with this if they're outside, but it's like the zone that we're in some other states are called Tornado Alley, because that's we're in the middle of the country, and if you're, and especially if you're in a mobile home or a trailer, it's really dangerous. And some crazy stuff happened. There was a church that got messed up here. It was a lot of crazy stuff, man. And my sister was she saw the tornado forming, and it was a really scary situation. But thank God that we are safe. Everybody turned out safe in my family, and I'm very happy for that.
That's great.
Absolutely. The weekend was a crazy time. Thankfully, we have all this other stuff in the world coming on, and she's in good spirits, and I'm in good spirits as well. Hopefully everything goes out, but my heart, my prayers are with everybody affected by things going on in Tennessee, which is the state I live in, and my sister as well. So hopefully everything goes all right. We got the holidays coming up. I know there's a lot of stuff set up for everybody. We live in a volunteer state, thankfully. Just wanted to shout that out right away because it was a serious thing. I had some DMs and stuff about it as well. But I'm totally okay. I was completely safe, in all honesty. I was not even anything to be worried about or pitied. It was just such a scary situation for so many other people that my heart is with them. And thankfully we have good stuff going on in the world otherwise. And it seems like everybody that's still here, hopefully everybody can move forward in a good way. So let's get into things now, because like you said, there was a lot going on in the week of Japanese wrestling, just wrestling in general, as it always is. Again, it's not just unique to Japan. There's stuff going on wherever you look. Last episode, we talked a little bit about AEW, the Continental Classic, and all the stuff that goes on there. And now with Japan, we've got a lot of stuff to get into. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's get into New Japan Pro Wrestling. First, something not very unique happened because Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi won the World Tag League once again, third time in a row. They really like doing that in the last couple of years, starting with Hiromu Takahashi and now with Bishamon. They beat Hikuleo and El Fantasmo in the finals, putting a nice rep to the Tag League, I want to say, because at the first night of that tournament, they lost to Hikuleo and El Fantasmo. That first brought up the idea of IWGP Tag Team title versus Strong Tag Team title. And after they defeated the Strong Tag Team champions now, they are getting the third match of the trilogy, or we are getting the third match of the trilogy in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom for both championships. The match in Gran Messe Kumamoto in front of officially 2,658 fans was 40 minutes long and ended with Hiroki Goto pinning El Fantasmo after the Naraku. And Dylan, what did you think about this particular match of the tournament?
Oh, well, I thought, hey, these two teams were the champions. Like you said, they set up the story the whole time of the tournament, and that was smart. I like the idea of going back and forth from night one to the final. The way they did it with the format with the semifinalists allowed them to do that. They wouldn't have been able to do it if it were without the semifinalist. The match itself was pretty epic, I have to say.
Yeah.
And the ending sequence, especially with Fantasmo, I thought was really spectacular. One of his shining breakout moments. And this is a guy, it's clear to me, Bishamon did win this tournament, and they did good. And, that's very great for them if they got another win and another piece of their legacy as a tag team. But ultimately, I really think that this is actually all going to lead to building up Fantasmo, more or less, going into the Dome. I really expect that team to win the titles. I think Bishamon will take the fall there, and they will springboard it into Fantasmo being something. The crowd was very into him, and he deserves credit for that. The one thing I didn't like, it's easy to say it was too long.
Sure.
Because it was, but it wouldn't have been too long if they'd actually laid the match out a bit smarter, because there was a spot, or not a spot, it was like a 10 minutes almost, where Hikuleo was he had to be taken out pretty much. So he was selling for literally like 10 minutes and then just happened to get in there to break up a pin after like a 10-minute fall. I thought it was really contrived and unnecessary, in my opinion. That was like the one moment of the match, or the one thing of the match I would have changed. They could have accomplished that. Again, I'm not even just saying that it's too long for being the sake of too long. If they had cut that down from a 10-minute wait to a 2-minute wait, not only would the match have been shorter, it would have been smarter. Because it was stupid that he had to sell for that long. And, I just thought it was really contrived overall. And I wouldn't have had any problem. This would have been a legitimately special, amazing match. And it was a great match still. Don't get me wrong, one of the best of the tournament for sure, if not the best.
Oh, definitely. I would say it wasn't the best of the tournament. Specifically for the reason that this really was an amazing match for El Fantasmo. You gotta think, of course, we thought that the guy was going to be pushed as a singles wrestler. And they put him in this real makeshift tag team with Hikuleo. When you look at these two guys, they really don't have anything in common. But they really are making it work for them. They sometimes do this goofy disguising, sometimes the two of them, sometimes with Yado as well, so they have the goofiness around them, but they also have the serious side. They've done this Super Thunder Kiss 86 throughout the tournament, which is basically just another version of El Fantasmo's finishing move, the Big Splash. But also they have really developed some great chemistry as a team, and I said it after the match on Twitter as well. Hikuleo probably is never going to be a big singles star. He's just not that great as a singles wrestler, not that interesting as a singles wrestler. I don't think he'll be in a position where he can realistically main event, even though he's just really tall and they like him for that. But with this tag team, with El Fantasmo by his side, he's really able to work matches so that the matches are laid out to really display his strengths. And El Fantasmo is the guy that really works around anything else, and he did in this match. Particularly, we mentioned the finish, the final minutes really were El Fantasmo fighting to avoid the loss for his team, and ultimately it came down to more tag team experience that Goto and Yoshihashi were able to put them away, because at one point they tried this version of the splash where Hikuleo was diving from the top rope, but it didn't work out. So it was the moment that cost them probably the match. But overall, it was just very spectacular, as you said, and I enjoyed it throughout the entire 40 minutes, gotta say. So for me, this is a case where I say I didn't really think that the match was too long.
Yeah, I just wish they had handled the Hikuleo stuff a little better on the outside. Like I said, if they cut it down, it wasn't long for the sake of being long. I just don't think they handled it very well psychologically. And another problem is that I have with this, if this was the end and they weren't going to wrestle again, I would be really happy with what we came out with. The problem is that they're doing it again on January 4th. Yeah. And the big issue with that is, what can they possibly do in that dome match that they didn't do here?
They can't, because it's on a card that's probably going to have more matches added to it. So they're going to be cut on time, and it's not a good idea to have that match in that rapid succession.
Yeah, and even if they got time, what could they do that they didn't do? Like, this told everything they needed to tell. Yeah. Like in this match, in my opinion.
What they could do after trading falls is they could do a 2 out of 3 falls match, of course. But then again, that would need some more time, or not some more time, but it would need some time in the dome, and I don't think that they are getting that.
No, the only thing that's going to be different is that they're going to win. Like, that'll be his big moment. Like, that's the only thing different.
I wouldn't really doubt that Bishamon wins too. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Hikuleo and Phantasmo will win, but it might be.
I just don't know if they want Bishamon to hold the strong titles overall. Like, that would be a bigger spot for Phantasmo than Hikuleo, I think. And like I said, there's no reason. If Bishamon's just going to win, then there's literally no reason to do this match. Yeah. And that's another problem I have with this final, and why I don't think it's the best of the tournament, is that ultimately, yes, there were stakes in the final, but actually there weren't. Because ultimately, Bishamon's win doesn't matter at all. Because, so, Phantasmo and Hikuleo lost. What was the consequence of that? They're getting the title shot anyway.
Yeah, anyways, that's correct.
Yeah. And so there's no real meaning to the match. It was really contrived in a lot of ways. And I think that, like I said, the work was great because, Yoshihashi and Goto are probably two of the best workers in the company still. And Phantasmo was a spectacular babyface. But it's all the stuff around it, I think, really made me not as hyped for it as it could have been.
Yeah, but it started in the block finals as well. Like, the match between TMDK and the War Dogs really was only about who would face the other team from the other block, you know? It wasn't about who advances. It was about who advances as first and who advances at second. Yeah. So that wasn't very interesting to begin with either. Something that a lot of people brought up is that Bishamon winning again could be a sign of that they had something else planned for the Tokyo Dome, that they had some other team planned to come in. Aussie Open, of course, was mentioned a lot, but that's not going to happen because of Mark Davis' injury.
Yeah.
And maybe because of other reasons as well. So people were guessing that this was just a makeshift to have something for the tag league, and that's what they thought of. And I mean, it's a fine story, but nothing that really blows on anything.
Yeah, I really think that they're going to win. I'd be surprised if Bishamon did, but who knows? And this is going to be another point that I did a show after that show ended, basically reviewing the whole tag league, and after the final. And on that, I'm going to make a similar point here. To me, it would be so smart if they need to hype Bishamon up as a legendary team, in my opinion. Because they have these accolades now, and hopefully now with Walker in instead of Kevin Kelly, who got off on making fun of Yoshihashi for all this time. If they could just put Walker in and Charlton and the announcers and the team, the production team They should all work together to always put them over as like, look, this is one of the greatest teams, not just in the world, but in the history of this company. If you look at their accolades, they are up there with the best teams in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling. 3 straight tag league wins. You've got the tag team titles run. You had the 6-man titles run with Ishii, which was the best like those titles have ever been. They need to really hype them up and make them a big deal. So, for example, if a team like Phantasmo and Hikuleo were to defeat them in a big match, it would mean more. Because right now, the tag league, it was fine. It was pretty good. I like that they had a little different teams this year than usual. You had some big matches. There was a handful of matches I would say were really great, like well worth watching. But it wasn't like it was the most hyped tournament that you could ever see. Even the first night they came out, and I think it was Umino and Narita that won. Like their promo was basically like, man, I wish there were more people here, like in attendance here. And it's like, man, why are you saying that? Like, it's true, but still, on there, that could have been a lie of omission, I like to say. But the fact is, the division is not hot.
No.
Winning the titles isn't that big of a deal, really. They might superficially act like it's a big deal when they win the titles, and then it'll be over with and not matter. That's why I'm saying they need to go into overdrive on Bishamon especially, and make them into a legendary team to make people believe in them that way. So when somebody beats them, maybe it'll mean something more, which it doesn't mean as much right now, in my opinion.
Right now, not. But, you went back to the March match against Okada and Tanahashi last episode, and that was really a landmark match for this team. And I really agree with you that this is a very special team, and in the history of the company, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, we haven't really seen great stories told around tag team wrestling, but Goto and Yoshihashi, they are 2 guys that really make it work for one another, and they really grew as a tag team in the last couple of years, and it was great to follow them. And I said it on Twitter as well. Bishamon, they have been great this year. I mean, sure, the astronauts are there, Miyahara and Aoyagi are there as well, but they really had great matches this year too.
I said this last year, actually, when we were talking about Tag Team of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I made a somewhat point, because I think if you just grade their match quality and quantity, it won't compare to other teams, because they're not in position to do like what other teams can do in other divisions, because the tag division is so low. Even when they had the Okada-Tanahashi match, what was the follow-up to that?
Yeah.
Like, they lost immediately to Aussie Open, like, because they had a boner for white guys.
That's what happens to you in the tag division in New Japan, yeah.
And they should have followed up and made it this epic achievement. And like I said, it just didn't even mean anything in the long run, what it should have. And it wasn't, obviously. That, to me, was one of the best New Japan matches of the year, was that tag match, just in my opinion. Even the Aussie Open match, that was a fantastic match that they had. And if you just go by like doing the most with the least, then Bishamon for the last 3 years has been the best tag team in the world. It's just that they don't have the quantity that other teams have.
Yeah.
But if you look at their talent, then they should be considered up there, like objectively.
Yep. So that was the final. What happened during the tour on December 6th as well is, of course, Renarita turning against Shota Umino and joining the House of Torture that got a lot of confused reactions right after that online. I was just stunned. Where do you stand on this, Dylan, a couple of days after?
I have a little bit of a hot take.
Me too.
I
think we have the same hot take, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I don't hate this, honestly, and I'll tell you why. The House of Torture is not the path to become a main eventer. I have no faith in that at all.
Exactly.
But if you look at what he was doing before...
Before you say anything further, I want to just say what my notes read here. I just said, here, quote, playing devil's advocate for Renarita.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that. It's that I don't think what he was doing before was the way to get him to a star. If you remember, even a year ago when he was going for the TV title at the Dome, when we were talking about it, I said on those shows, he needs to get something to make himself his own. In that, you look at him, all black tights, all black trunks, hair same as Shibata, like everything same as Shibata. Like that's what everybody knew him as. With some presentation choice differences, if they had made some changes, I think he still has a lot of potential, and we know he could work. Like, look at what he did with Ishii in the tag match.
Yeah,
Ishii
absolutely. I mean, it depends on what he's going to be able to do with the House of Torture gimmick, you know.
Well, no, that's all out the window. Like
yeah.
Right now, like that doesn't even matter anymore. We know his matches will be bad. It's going to be the same bad stuff over and over again. But we know he can work. He has that talent. His aesthetics were so sucky that he didn't stand out at all compared to anybody, like, you know, of the Three Musketeers. He was clearly positioned as the third, you know, to the fans at least. And with this House of Torture stuff, this is the brightest, hopeful, like most hopeful-minded thinking you could have here. Let's say he's in the House of Torture. They give him a complete redesign, like new hair, new gear, whatever you've got planned, whatever. They do that for this. If he can be in this House of Torture for, let's say, a year or two, and then get out and come back with a new aesthetic, you can get back to the wrestling that he can do, then he will be greatly improved and helped by it, rather than if he had just kept doing what he was doing, which was never going to make him a star.
I agree and disagree at the same time, gotta say. First, I agree that this is better than what he was doing. And I think he still is going to be the third guy in the Three Musketeers. But at least this new role is going to give him something to really work with, other than what he was doing in that weird strong style group that they had going. It's still going to be that he's going to be the antagonist for Shota Umino. That was going to happen nonetheless, whatever they were doing. And Shota Umino, for them, is the guy that they want to work out as a star, and so Renarita is going to be the antagonist to him. That is going to be his role, and him being in the House of Torture works well for that role, I think. And he was never going to be a main eventer. Let's just not fool ourselves. He was not going to be in the main event scene in New Japan, but with that role, he has somewhat of a place on the cards, at least. Where I kind of disagree with you is this tenure in the House of Torture, because when you look at stables in New Japan Pro Wrestling, wrestlers are really never in a group for just 1 year or for 2 years. They really are stuck with the group for a long, long time. And that's where I fear for him, that he will just be lost in the shuffle, much like Sho did, because nobody ever is talking about Sho Tanaka again, who was put in the group as well with the idea of pushing him in the junior heavyweight scene, which, apart from his inclusion in the Best of the Super Junior final that he tried to ruin, never really happened. So I think he's going to remain with the group for a considerable time, and but still, though, on this level that he was, I agree that this is going to be an improvement.
And my version of him leaving was, the most hopeful take that I had. It wasn't like I think that'll happen, but I do think that if it did, that would be the right way to go with him.
Yeah.
Because I really like him as a wrestler, and I wish that they would use him a little better. Like, what he was doing was not going to interest Gato, first of all, and obviously Umino is going to get all of the chances in the world to be a star, and Tsuji has a great charisma to him, and he wasn't going to stand out, so I don't mind the change. I just think, to me, House of Torture is not, they're not over, like, they're not popular in any way. Like, we saw what happened when Evil was in the main event with Sonata. Like, the house tanked. And that's what you're going to get.
Once again, I think they have something when they are not in the main event. Like, reactions to Narita turning and reactions to Narita's first actions as a member of House of Torture really got reactions from the crowd.
Well, that was a shocking turn.
But it got reaction.
After a year of this, like,
sure,
you're not going to see the same. Like, that's the problem, is that it's the same stuff over and over. So, him turning got a nice reaction, but that doesn't mean anything when they're going to do. Probably the realistic take is he's just going to be another Yujiro. It's going to be another take where it's the same stuff over and over again, and in all of their matches. But hey, we'll talk about it when we get to the Dome. But I do think there could be a plan for him in the short term, at least, that I could see playing out. Mm-hmm. And again, we don't know what Gato's thoughts are on it, and he loves the House of Torture and all of this stuff. So we'll see what happens. But as a worker, as a fan, I totally understand why there was such a negative take on it.
Absolutely, because people really like Narita and they want to work him out as a singles. But much like I said, I don't think it was ever going to be at the level that people hoped for him to reach.
No, and I don't even think people thought that. If you look at the G1, takes, he was not even really talked about that much in the tournament. Right. And he got by the end of it, he started off really slow and kind of disappointing. But by the end of the tournament, when he was having matches with Kaito and etc.,
yeah, it was good.
He was having good matches. And like I said, I really go back to the point of the tag match with Ishii and Yano. They were fantastic together. Like, they had such great chemistry. I would have done it if it were up to me and I ran New Japan. They would have won the tag league instead of Phantasmo and Hikuleo.
That's the thing with which I really struggle, because they were given this role with the Three Musketeers, or as the Three Musketeers, and they were antagonizing one another for the first couple of months of that deal. Then Narita and Umino came together after this 7-match, 6-man tag team series that really nobody cared about. They began to be a tag team, and it worked out quite well. Then they told this story where Umino started picking up losses, but there was just only 3 matches. And we're supposed to believe that throughout this 2 or 3 weeks, Ren Narita has built up this strong hatred for Shota Umino, which is just very implausible, because this is a story that should really have been told over the course of at least 1 year of Ren Narita slowly but surely realizing that he's only the sidekick to the supposedly big star, and then the turn would have had a much, much bigger impact than it had.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. Like, what you said is just logical, to be honest. I don't know why they rushed it so much. Again, like you said, maybe there were different balls up in the air, Aussie Open and all of this. Then they sided with Phantasmo, and things just wound up how they wound out. But ideally, what you said would have been much, much better. Even in the original Three Musketeers, you had Shoto Turn, which they weren't as bad as House of Torture, but they were a similar, heelish cheating group that Team Wolf when Shoto turned. So it's not like this is so unquestionable that somebody would follow a heel path. It makes kind of sense when you think about it that one of them would turn. Ideally, when you look at the strengths of them as wrestlers, you wouldn't really think it's Narita. But I think that's a big part of it, too. You have to hope that doing this heel stuff will get some kind of goofy charisma out of him that he wasn't able to show on his own. And again, the hope that I have, at least, and again, maybe you're right and this will just go on forever, like the next 10 years, we'll see this. But I really think, honestly, when you look at this landscape of New Japan and Bullet Club specifically and Bullet Club-related factions, I really do think a change is coming, in the near future. I don't think this House of Torture is going to last forever, because I really think they're at the end of their rope with a lot of different things on that end. Not just because I hate them, which I do, which we all do. We all don't like them wrestling-wise, but just the length of time and things going on in the company. I really think that everything won't just maintain the status quo for much longer. And they've already shown signs of that this year.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, they've shown signs of that this year, that they're trying to change some things. We'll see what happens. And again, maybe I'm being overly hopeful. That's very possible, but that's just my take.
It's a nice change for once that you're the one that's hopeful. But yeah, like you said, we are going to see what happens at the beginning of 2024. What they did was they announced a new championship that is going to be introduced at Wrestle Kingdom in a 3-way match that was originally going to be for the US/UK Heavyweight Championship. And they announced this at the press conference where Subayashi was sitting, and he said, I'm reading this from the English website of New Japan Pro Wrestling, with that in mind, this new championship combines and adds to the US and UK championship roles and will be called IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. As has already been discussed in recent business strategy presentation, New Japan is working to ensure that 2024 sees our presence grow not just in the UK and the US, but throughout all of Europe and the rest of Asia and Oceania. With mindfulness on the international space, there was discussion of renewing the defunct IWGP Intercontinental Championship, but as we see an entirely new level of international involvement, the IWGP Global Heavyweight name was decided to be the most fitting. We hope fans look forward to seeing the brand new title and the matches contested for it. Dylan, this got a lot of negative reactions. We put out a tweet on our Eastern Lariat Twitter, and reactions we got, for example, from Dr. Jonathan is, I really wish they just brought back the IC title. Yannick said, about as prestigious as the DDT over 40 title. Others said it's dumb. Pretty much the same thing they tried to do when they first introduced the IC and US title was reactions to that. What I saw here from Peps, for example, was that just sounds like, well, Ospreay will defend it at Strong/AW for a while. So there are a lot of reactions to that, and few of them are really positive, and I can't say that I had a positive reaction to it either. It's still just another new title. It's funny that they are acting like it's going to replace two championships, when in reality, Ospreay just introduced this other title that was never sanctioned by New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it doesn't replace two, it just replaces one, and they still have a bunch of other championships going around. So where does this title fit, and what was your reaction to it?
Yeah, total smoke and mirrors booking there to make it like it's replacing two titles when it's really not. Good point on that end. I'm so confused at the reaction by some of the fans here. Let's say they called this the IC title. Mm-hmm. So what? It's the same.
It's really the same.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they call it. If it's the US title, the IC title, the asshole title, either one, it's all the same. Yeah. It's going to be a secondary belt that doesn't mean anything. Like, they'll probably make it hot for a few months, and then it'll go to the way of that all of their other titles go. Like, it's literally the same. People have such nostalgia for the IC title based on stuff from 10 years ago.
And I think that's the main reason why they hesitated and ultimately thought that they couldn't bring that back, because people have so fond memories of the reigns that Tanahashi and Nakamura had.
Yeah.
That they didn't... Yeah?
What about the end of it? The last 5 years of the title, where it was known for getting destroyed by Naito, talked about what a piece of crap it was. Then...
people really don't want to remember that part of the title.
Yeah, then when they did the double title, because everyone always remembers the unification and stuff, but what about when he had both titles at the same time and they were both, their own titles, and Okada comes out and talks about how just having the IC title makes the world title worthless. Like, that's how low the IC title was by the end. But yeah, nobody talks about that part. They always remember the Nakamura title reigns, which, yeah, like, those were great, and it made it into the Dome, and that was cool. But there's much more like negative with that title than positive, in my opinion. But like you said, ultimately, regardless of the truth or the facts, sometimes, perception is reality, and the perception is always positive on it. But at the end of the day, if they had called it the IC title, it would be the same as whatever this global title will be. Ultimately, I'm extremely confident of that. The only thing about it is, Peps made a great point. I was on his show recently, Piro Gems. That's another show I did the last week. And we had a great conversation about all kinds of stuff, really, in wrestling. Ice Ribbon, GLEAT, All Japan. We talked about all kinds of stuff. Now, Peps is really smart when it comes to wrestling. What he said here was smart, too, because basically, when this thing got announced, when they destroyed the title, which was a ridiculous angle, like when Finlay destroyed the stuff with the hammer, I thought Finlay would win, to be honest with you, that they would want a New Japan guy. But once AEW announced Ospreay is signed with AEW, that kind of changed my opinion a little bit. That they announced
and not only did they announce that, they also announced that Ospreay is going to be able to still work New Japan dates.
Yeah, exactly. So now I think that Ospreay winning the title is very likely. And they just didn't. They wanted to have a major match. Tony Khan probably wouldn't let either of his guys do a job, and so they threw in Finlay here to take the fall. Is what I really feel like coming into it. But again, maybe they'll surprise me, but yeah.
Yeah, I really don't. With this title, with the new title, I really don't see Finlay being the first to hold it. Yeah. And it's nothing against Finlay, but he still doesn't have the profile that we thought that he would have by the end of this year after return to the Bullet Club. And Ospreay and Moxley, on the other hand, they have. But New Japan probably also remembers what struggle they had getting the US title rid of Moxley. So they probably wouldn't want to go back to that. So Ospreay seems like the only logical choice here.
Yeah, and that's another group. And that's another reason why I said I think there's going to be some changes. I think Finley's push the sun is setting on it. Like in my opinion, I think that we're near the end. I don't think he will be. Whatever happens with the War Dogs, I don't think he's going to be the main guy for much longer.
And he wasn't even in the focus in the last couple of weeks because he wasn't attacking. The main focus really was on Coughlin and Gabe Kidd. And I also see Gabe Kidd really overtaking him.
Yeah, and he's building a match with Ospreay on top of it, like a singles match with Kidd and Ospreay. They did the thing online, which was really goofy, like the Instagram thing that they had, in my opinion.
It's always goofy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not really believers in any of them, to be honest with you. And I liked Finlay well enough for what they were doing at first, but it fizzled out. Again, like once he lost the title, that to me was the death knell of whatever push they had going. They've extended it a little bit, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they might just move away from the War Dogs name or Bullet Club name. I don't know if they want to get rid of it just because they think it means something in merchandise, and maybe it does, ultimately. They want to keep that name around in some form or fashion. But I do think that's going to change. Here's what I'm thinking about this title, Strig. I'm going to throw something at you. That kind of ties into what we were talking about a little bit ago with Narita. So Ospreay winning the title at the Dome here is going to be something. I think it really depends on what he's going to do in AEW ultimately, just how important they see him as, because we've seen other guys come and go and things like that maybe they don't see main event talented, like Takeshita. Like if he's there or not each week, it really doesn't matter in their push of him, like the last half year or however long it's been. If Ospreay's going to be a guy like that, that's one thing. But they made a huge deal. Like this was basically their counterbalance. Them announcing it when they did was to try to get the jump on WWE announcing Punk coming back, ultimately. And that's where they see him as, like the kind of star they see him as. And that's great for Ospreay. But the fact is, they're probably going to want to use him in a more very, serious, starlight for them. So I don't know how much he'll be in New Japan throughout by the end of 2024.
For that, they should let someone else cut his promos to begin with.
You may be right about that, bro. You have a good point there, and it should not be Don Callis either.
No,
I would say. But here's what I'm thinking: we know Tony Khan doesn't want to let his guys lose matches when they wrestle in other companies. That's true of everybody, pretty much. So what I'm thinking is, with everything playing out as it has, let's say Ospreay wins the title here, and they springboard that to a match with Narita for the title, to where you could have Ospreay do the job. Like, he'll do his defenses on AEW and Strong. You get a month, you probably have 2 or 3 good defenses for Ospreay. Then New Beginning comes, and they're ready to bring him in, full-time-ish to AEW. And then you could have Narita win with all of the shenanigans and bullcrap that will protect him in their eyes. And that way, you could have him lose to a New Japan guy, but he won't lose clean. It'll be a ridiculous thing. And then Narita would gain something from even this goofy global title at the end of the day. So that's kind of what I'm feeling like, that they'll do a crazy House of Torture match to protect Ospreay and AEW from having their guys lose clean.
Makes a lot of sense, actually. And that would also then be a springboard to Shota Umino possibly winning the title later in the year.
Yeah, exactly. That would be kind of the long-term goal. Narita can have it for a little while, and then Umino can get it. I mean, really, when you think about it, the way New Japan schedules work, you could have the New Japan Cup, and the G1, that's going to take up a good chunk of time. So they can really, if they want to build 2 matches, they could hold that for next year's Dome.
They could, but I think given the fact that they've rushed the turn as well, I could see them wanting to do the title match not very soon, but rather soon, maybe around April, May, or even delaying it to June to Dominion. But that would be the time schedule, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be April because then he'd have a V0 title reign. I don't think that would help. Like I said, that's what I'm saying. You're going to run into the wall of the G1. At the end of the day, that's going to extend it even unnaturally. But regardless, I think that'll be the long-term angle. This will all wind up with Umino by the end, and hopefully by that time he stops doing Ospreay's moves.
Yeah. Jesus. Yes.
It's true.
I know it is. Let us take a look at the Wrestle Kingdom card as well. I know you did already with Karen and with the WH on Post Progresso. Really great show. I enjoyed it very much. So the year in review, very good stuff there. We have a card set up that is there's a lot of matches that we've already seen. That's the gist of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
So the closer we're getting to the card, the less optimistic I am actually that this is going to do a big number. But it ultimately comes down to how many people want to see Tetsuya Naito win the title in the Dome, and that could be a really big chunk of the audience. So, Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title, Drill Maloney and Clark Connors defend against TJP and Francesco Akira. The aforementioned double title match between Bishamon and El Fantasma and Hikuleo. Junior Heavyweight title, Hiromu Takahashi versus El Desperado. Television title, Zack Sabre Jr. defense against Tanahashi. Never Openweight title, Shingo Takagi versus Tama Tonga. The 3-way match for the global title we just mentioned. Then Okada versus Danielson, the rematch. And the world title match between Sanada and Tetsuya Naito. It's probably going to be a good show, but there is very few elements of this card that have me excited.
Yeah, I mean, you said it at the start. All of these are just massive rematches, pretty much. And I kind of said it before. I have full faith in Naito that he will have his fans flocking to this Dome to see him win. And I think they do too, which may turn out to be a mistake because this is a weak card when you look at it just in terms of interest. The only match for me as a fan that I'm really excited about would be Bryan and Okada.
Yep.
And that's because Bryan Danielson, the best wrestler in the world, is in it, pretty much. But it's not even
crazy
like
that Bryan is going to be in this match just after working the Continental Classic. And the way that he's working as well, it's a gruesome schedule that he's on.
Having multiple fantastic matches. Like the match with Andrade was my favorite match of the tournament on Saturday so far. So Bryan is an amazing wrestler, as everybody knows. So that's great for me as a fan. But even then, it's not like there's heavy storyline implications, really, of it. Like, we've seen it already, and what are they going to do? Like, there's no real interest in who's going to win. It's obvious Okada will win. Like, Bryan won the first match with a broken arm.
Sure.
Like, they're not going to job Okada out again. So it's not that interesting of a card. Like, I don't really have any faith in the undercard title matches. I mean, I do have faith in them in terms of being good matches. I just don't think they're that interesting, ultimately. And the main event, I have no interest in Sanada. Like, again, I'm not a huge Naito fan, so it doesn't appeal to me. If you are a huge Naito fan, then I don't think the rest of the card really matters that much. Like, you just want to see Naito. And I think that's what they're banking on, that there's enough of those fans to make this work. And as I said before, every time Naito's been put in a main event position, he has delivered business-wise. So until that happens and he doesn't, I'm not going to bet against him. But if they were going to do it, I wouldn't be that surprised if this doesn't do as great of a number as they want. And I'm really surprised because they needed this show to be so big. The first Dome without the restrictions, coming off Noah beating them this year in their Dome show with the Muto retirement, you would have thought they wanted and needed this to be a big show. And I don't think that we've seen that effort.
No, it really feels uninspired, but New Japan isn't the only company right now that feels uninspired when they're going to book their big shows. The thing, though, is I think it was a real smart move from New Japan to put Naito's surgery into the media because it was really stressed that this is the final time that Tetsuya Naito could take this surgery on his eyes, and this is going to be his final run and stuff like that. So they're really hoping that people get to the Tokyo Dome to see exactly that play out.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of Naito's that much. So for me,
I know, but he obviously has a big following.
Yeah, they're very confident in that, and I'm confident too. Again, I've said it from literally since they announced the main event match that I think ultimately with him in the main event, it doesn't matter about the rest of the card. And clearly, New Japan agreed with that.
Yes. So that was it for New Japan, at least what I have here. We have another card. We have lots of cards, actually, Dylan, and let's see how confident you are in this one. Stardom. They have their final card of the year for the Stardom Dream Queendom. They just announced it. There is a whole card, much like I said. 4-way tag battle. It starts with Lady C and Hina versus Yuna Mitsumori and Saki versus Tekla and Mai Sakurai versus Saki Kashima and Ami Sourei. 6-woman tag match. Nanae Takahashi, Yu and Asumi against Shuri, Mina Shirakawa and Mei Seira. Then Mayu Iwatani's return match, an 8-woman tag. Mayu Iwatani, Saya Ida, Hazuki, and Hanan versus Standard Kid, Rina, Ruaka, and Fukigen Death. And we're slowly getting to the business end of the card with the New Japan Strong title. Julia defends against Megan Bain. Goddesses of Stardom title, Utami Hayashishita and Saya Kamitani defend against Natsuko Tora and Momo Watanabe. Then Mirai defends the Wonder of Stardom title against Saori Ano. And for the World of Stardom title in a decision match, it's Suzu Suzuki versus Maika. That's the card for the big show at the end of the year, Dylan. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues with this card when you look at it. Obviously, the injury story has been a big talking point, but also they have a problem of having all of these big shows because they have 2 more big shows. Really, a week after this. So they're holding back. There's going to be some big matches on those shows that they should have put on this show, but they held back to make those shows better overall, like the Iwatani title defense.
For reference, they are running this card. It's Sumo Hall, right?
Yeah.
On the 29th, it's Sumo Hall. Yeah. Then they have Yokohama Budokan on the 3rd and Tokyo Dome City Hall on the 4th. So 2 other shows where they are trying to sell tickets for, but there's no matches announced for that.
Yeah, definitely Budokan is the second biggest show. They kind of go in descending order of importance.
Yeah.
Pretty much as teams go. But it's all within a week is the problem. This is something
that's not like no other promotions don't have shows at the same time, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was unnecessary, all of this, to be honest. But as I said, Harada's gone now. He was screwing up a lot. They made changes. They had investigations due to an incident where the timing was off at one of their shows, and Julia made this big apology to the fans. Everybody got investigated, and they canned the guy, the president, and they brought in a new guy. And hopefully, I mean, it's been said that they're going to change the schedule, they publicly announced this, that they're trying to change things next year. But this stuff was probably already made months in advance to rent the buildings out, the venue and stuff. So they can't just get away from it, unfortunately. So yeah, that hurt the show. The injuries did hurt things. Obviously, if you had a Tom match, it would have helped, the card somewhat. Suzu and Maika, I mean, to be fair, this shows the early returns on the show look positive, that this show will do good. This has historically been Stardom's biggest show of the year. Obviously, the one in April was bigger this year. Suzu and Maika as the lead. I liked their match. Their 5-star Grand Prix final match was good. I didn't think it was special or anything like that it was needs to have this rematch. But with the injury, they kind of pivoted towards this thing to kind of finish out this story here. with Susan and Micah, and that's fine. And they're great workers. I really like both of them. It's cool that they're in a main event spot and somebody will get the red belt. I think Suzu will win since she won the tournament. So, like, if they wanted Micah to be the champion, they probably would have had her win the tournament in the first place, you would think. But historically, this has been a time when injuries occur that people want to pull out swerves and stuff to make up for it. So we'll see how it goes. Mirai and Ano, we just saw that match last month. That's not a strong match, in my opinion. Obviously, with Poi getting injured, that kind of wrecked her and Ano's tag team, too. That's 2 matches there. 3 matches, like, really, when you think about it, because the red belt would have had Tom, the tag team match would have had Ano and Poi, and then the white belt would have had a different challenger for Mirai. So that's 3 matches, and 3 of your main matches, pretty much, that would have been different if all had been well, pretty much. And that could have also affected the strong title match. I mean, they could have easily had Micah and Megan challenge for the tag titles against Poi and Ano. Then that could have led to somebody else getting the title shots. But anyway, none of these matches are special to me when I look at them, but they'll be good overall. I think that all 3 of the singles matches will be strong. I think Ano and Mirai will want to better their match they had last month, which was very good, but these are 2 of the best workers, and you would want them to have a great match. And I think if they're going to do it, this is the time. Susan and Micah, both great. Julia is fantastic, and Megan Main has been a good powerhouse for the company, been a good finding for them. I think that match will be good. But when it comes to storyline stuff, like, the most interesting thing is, will Julia resign come March? Yeah. Pretty much more than anything happening on here. So, yeah, it's not that interesting of a show, especially compared to the last 2 years. Those were 2 of the best shows of their respective years of any company in the whole world. And you had emotional endings to them that everybody will remember. I just don't know. I hope that they have one thing I do think they do better. When they had the 5-star Grand Prix final, one thing I really didn't like was how small the win felt at the end. They didn't do the awards. They didn't have this big ceremony like they had done in the past. Hopefully they have a big celebration for whoever wins the red belt. It makes them feel like a legendary win, even if it might not be in reality. Hopefully they go the extra mile to make it seem that way. But, yeah, the 3 singles matches will be worth watching. Everything else, it's not that great.
Yeah, very unfortunate ending of the year for Stardom. I remember how excited we all were for the April show. We did a special review for that, a rare one single show review. But much like you said on your show, on Post, it was practically downhill from there.
And I've been feeling that way. I've said it on here multiple times. Like, this whole year has been basically a train wreck for them. Ever since that show happened, that really felt like the end of an era. Like, at the time, we were hoping that, it would be this legendary show and it would mean so much, and this was the sign that the company was ready to go over the top. But in reality, it was like the end of the era. Like, and everything after it has been bad, I would say. And they're really, really way down from where they were in past years. That doesn't mean they can't get it back once some more people get healthy. They do some big things with the red belt, maybe. They have something big in mind. I know that they've teased, well, it's been rumored anyway, it's been teased not on their shows, just outside of their shows, that they have some kind of big plan for 2024, something big. You have Meltzer, who talks to people in the company, and they, that's been told that something big will happen next year. And I don't know what that is, overall, like what it could be. I wonder, me and Peps were talking about this. This wasn't on our show that we did, but we were having a conversation. We kind of thought that they might have an idea to do a dome show for them. And the reason for that is because it's the 30th anniversary of the Big Egg show for All Japan Women. And if there's one thing Rossy Ogawa loves, it's tribute shows to All Japan Women shows, which this year's April show was also that as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's something big they have planned for the end of next year, that they're going to do a tribute show to Big Egg. And, one of the most famous shows in Joshi history. So that could be something they really go the extra mile for. Julia, it's all up in the air. I think, like I said, if we at the end of the year, I don't know what we're going to do for the show at the end of the year, but if there was a game we played where, like, we could change 3 things, the first thing I would change is to make sure Julia didn't lose that red belt in April.
You're right.
Because I think that's where everything really went off the rails. And no disrespect to Tom Nakano, but things went way down. Like, I mean, her title reign, it wasn't good at the end of the day. Like, and the injury, it's unfortunate. It's nobody's fault. She tried her best. Her work was good. She's a very talented person. But I think that everything went off the rails when that happened, and you just want to try and get things back. And hopefully they can, because Julia spoke out, too, saying that Rossi was not being listened to as much this year since the Bushiroad people came in. And I know there's been some people behind the scenes, too, that have complained about that the Bushiroad people have really taken over, and it's much more corporate than it used to be. You know, for example, somebody was saying that after every show, Rossi would ask him what he thought of the show, and the Bushiroad guys, they never even talked to anybody after the shows. And that's just things that have been said. You know, and it's not that surprising. I mean, Bushiroad is a huge, huge conglomerate, so it's not surprising that they would act that way. But hopefully some changes can be made. The right people in the right positions can do some big things. I don't know what will happen with Julia. I don't think it's a lock she leaves, but I do think that, you know, it's. I
think this year wasn't the best year to make her stay another one.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what her personal goals are. Again, I always say that when people talk about people leaving. Same thing with Okada. Like, we didn't even talk about his rumors going into WWE or whatever.
That's right. Yes.
What's your take on that?
I don't think he's leaving.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Like, I'll believe it when I see it.
I think it's a smart. It's once again a smart move that gets people interested in Wrestle Kingdom and what's going to happen after that. That they tried to get people to think that he's really leaving the company, but I don't really see that coming.
Yeah, and it would just be so crazy if he left. And I could totally see them bringing this up even on commentary. Like, could this be the last time we see him wrestle in the Dome? Something like that. Just to make the match seem more important. But I'm with you. I don't think he's going to leave. Anything's possible. Again, we don't know his goals. Maybe he's burned out in New Japan. Like, he's done everything he could do realistically. Maybe there's something personal, again, we don't know about. He's married with a child. Maybe they don't want to raise him in the Japanese school systems or something like that. We don't know at the end of the day.
We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So we can only speculate based on what we see. And maybe it's such an overwhelming offer from someone that he can't turn it down. But if anything, I could easily see him fleecing AEW for a contract where he's basically still a New Japan wrestler. But they say, much like Ibushi right now, where he could come in for a match here or there, but in reality is a Japanese wrestler.
And that would be the perfect way for New Japan to save a lot of money, because that is the thing that a lot of Japanese wrestlers are looking at probably right now. We talked about the Yoshi companies popping up in the US. Just the dollar is a great currency right now for Japanese wrestlers, given the economy in Japan, and Japanese companies, they are really having trouble just keeping their talent, given the fact that there is such strong demand in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. He could get some kind of double contract with AEW New Japan. AEW gets to say they got another one over on WWE, which is what that signing would mean pretty much. And New Japan still keeps Okada for all intents and purposes. I could see something like that happen. WWE, I think, would be really tough for him. I don't know how they would even approach somebody like that, like Okada. They've done a great job with Nakamura recently, but that was after 7 years of things being bad. So we'll see what happens. And I don't think he would even care about that. It would be more of a monetary value, at that point. I don't think he'll leave. Julia, anything's possible. I really don't think she'll go to AEW at all. Just with how they run the women's division. And it's been said, I've heard that Tony Khan doesn't rate Julia that much.
I've seen that too. It's wild.
Yeah, that's something I heard about a couple weeks ago even, and now it's coming out publicly as well. Which, that shows you what he knows about women's wrestling at the end of the day. So I don't think any women's wrestler would want to go to AEW right now, to be honest. I think anybody who has any sense would look at WWE first, if you're a women's wrestler of any nationality. So
she should go to Impact.
Nobody would want to go to Impact for any reason. I would argue. And again, they've got guys I like. It's nothing against them, but if it's WWE and Impact, you have to be realistic at some point. So Julia, again, and I don't think it's a certainty that she'll leave, but I do think that she's setting the table for it. We've seen her start to tweet in English a little bit more. Mm-hmm. She's learning English a bit more. Maybe that could be something. Again, this is only speculation. We don't know her goals. She might not want to go to the U.S. at the end of the day. That's another thing people don't always think about, is that not everybody is just obsessed with leaving their home countries, to go to places. Even Ospreay, he said it. He made a big deal about wanting to live in the UK. And again, that to me, it seems like posturing as much as anything. We'll see how true it is, because there's been guys in the past that have said, no, I never want to go to the U.S. And then next thing you know, they're in the U.S. when the offer is right. So we'll see what happens. My gut makes me think Julia will stay, actually. Maybe I'm hopeful. But again, they haven't used her to the maximum of her extent either this year. I don't think it's been a great year for her at all, really, compared to what she could have been doing. But, yeah, we'll see.
I really think that she was a victim of all the circumstances of Bushy Road acquiring Stardom. She had to work a lot of these US New Japan shows to attract interest there and winning the title. It really depends on what her outlook for next year would be in Stardom / New Japan in the US, and if she really wants to remain that piece of business, really, that New Japan is just putting on any show that they want to produce.
And that's another great point that you brought up here. Really, Stardom too, a thing that's really hurt them is that they've basically become almost a sub promotion for New Japan at the end of the day, and not a well treated one. They just get their girls when they need them.
It's a feeder system, really.
But they don't even feed them to anything, because they're not, because they don't even use them in their shows, because they don't want women on their shows, because these old crusty bastards want to sabotage them at the end of the day, which is what I feared would happen.
It's a feeder system, but again, it's not a feeder system, because it doesn't lead anywhere.
Exactly. Like, it's just a minor league promotion in their eyes. And that's not right, because actually they were doing better than New Japan for the last years heading into 2023, and much more successful. Look at the growth like you looked at last year. They were the one promotion that actually grew during the pandemic, even in attendances. And Bushiroad buying them did a lot of great things, but unfortunately they've muddied the waters and gotten their hands too deep in it and messed a lot of stuff up. And like you said, Julia going to the U.S. a lot, that probably hurt. If anything, she lost all her money at the casino in Las Vegas, so that's a negative. You don't want to put somebody in position to go to Vegas, man. You don't want them to gamble. That's not good at the end of the day. So they need to be more responsible with that, first of all. But like you said, ultimately, that's a New Japan initiative to get her strong. For whatever strong means, that's another thing. I mean, who knows how long strong will be a thing. It seems like to me that's just a thing that will keep Rocky Romero around to keep strong. If he left, they would probably just kill the whole thing off.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of killing something off, New Japan Global made this incredible tweet. Quote, on January 2nd, New Japan Pro Wrestling will help Noah start their new year. That got so many amazing reactions. What a way to really kick Noah to the curb and say, yeah, you're not able to sell out your own card. Here is some New Japan mid-card talent we have to offer. And they did. And on the last show, we talked about Kaito Kiyomiya not having a role on this show. Now he has, so they just waited for the Ren Narita turn, but Ren Narita is not even on the card. It's a rematch from the World Tag League, and he has a match very high up on the card, but it's not really a high-profile match. It's him and Oiwa against Evil and Yujiro Takahashi. That's not a high-profile match. I'll go through the card. It's really long. It's 13 matches. Gonna browse through the early matches.
And by the way, to bring back our point from last week, It was like that Kaito match was like the 11th match to announce. Then they got through.
Yeah, that's right. So early matches here, 2 on the pre-show. Probably it's 2 matches that is the match 0. Shuji Kondo and Yunta Miyawaki. Another great point on your part. Yunta Miyawaki just being complete afterthought in this company against Taishi Osawa and Yu Owada. Then Mohamed Yone, Atsushi Kotoge, Super Crazy, and Teriyaki against Daiki Inaba, Hajime Ohara, I-69, and Kai Fujimura. Official opening match is the 3-way for the junior tag team title. Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf defend against Yohei and Tadasuke and against Ninja Mac and Alejandro. Jake Lee, Jack Morris, and Anthony Green take on El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., who is back, but not as the national champion for whatever reason. He teams with Vinny Massaro and Titus Alexander. Really happy for these two, especially for Vinny that he's getting this opportunity, that he just went to Japan and said, yep, this is going to happen for me right now, and he's on Pro Wrestling Noah's biggest show of the year. Great for him.
Yeah, don't be ashamed, Strigger. Call him Winnie. Put that W in that name.
W.
Because he's taking the W. Exactly. He's winning right now. I mean, shout out to Marvelous and West Coast Pro, formulating a relationship, getting these guys another avenue into Japan. Titus Alexander, a guy who's got a lot of great reviews, done some great things, one of the highlights of the indie scene, and now going to know a shot at Vinny. I mean, that brother has been around for so many years, getting a Japanese run. He had a chance earlier in his career. He had to stay for his wife, and you see this here. Exactly. Getting a lot of great stuff there. So, indie legend and the future of the indies, both on the Noah show here. And who better to go against than Jake Lee with his top hat?
Yes. Too bad that Alphazo is not on that card. He worked 2 Noah dates as well as also with Vinny and with Titus. He was not with Titus, but with Vinny on the Marvelous shows. Alphazo is really a great guy, and I could see that he could be a guy that Noah would have a role for too. But yeah, that's a fine undercard match here. Then we have Noah versus New Japan. Masaki Tamiya against Tomohiro Ishii. That's probably going to be a great match. As well as Go Shiozaki versus Satoshi Kojima. Match number 5 is the Great Sakuya Advent, the debut of Keiji Muto, Great Muta's daughter, I'm sorry. Great Sakuya and Nagisa no Saki against Haruka Umasaki and Miyuki Takase. Sounds great on paper, actually. Then Ulka Sasaki's Pro Wrestling debut.
Who do you think Great Sakuya is? Who is it?
It's a good question, actually.
Nobody knows, I guess.
I haven't thought about that.
Muta killed her, and she brought her back.
Maybe it's really Keiji Muto's daughter.
On Monday Magic. Yeah, his real daughter that works at Noah. Yeah, Rest debut. I think so too. Good prediction, Strigger.
Yeah, she had a concert on one Sendai Girls show. So
go for it.
Yep. So Ulka Sasaki is making his pro wrestling debut. Former MMA guy against Takashi Sugiura. That's the first part of the show.
He's still an MMA guy.
Oh, he's still an MMA guy. Okay.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
I don't follow Japanese MMA, so good for him. That's the first part of the show. They said there was an intermission after that, and then we get to the business end. Wrestling Symphony, all caps. Zack Sabre Jr. and Yoshinari Ogawa versus Hiroshi Tanahashi and Hayata. It's really funny that this is just a prelude match for Wrestle Kingdom.
This whole show is basically Road to Wrestle Kingdom. Yes. When you look at it.
Yes. Daga defends the junior title against Eita. I have no time for that. Do you?
No! What are you talking about, Stringer? You know better than that.
Good.
I mean, I unfortunately, I will have time. I will watch it, but I'm not interested in it, unfortunately.
Noah and New Japan versus House of Torture, all caps too. Kaito Kiyomiya and Hiroyo Oiwa against Evil and Yujiro Takahashi.
Bringing in the big names.
Yeah, Yujiro Takahashi working the biggest Noah, third from the top on the biggest Noah card of the year. That's amazing. Yeah, semi-main for the GHC heavyweight title, Keno versus Manabu Soya, and the special singles match, Destiny 2024, Naomichi Marufuji against Kota Ibushi. And Marufuji in Tokyo Sports, they said that another major factor for this being the main event of the show was that Marufuji's clear statement is that he would retire in 5 years, regarding his retirement, Marufuji said, "I've been thinking about it for quite a while. I think the match with Ibushi will probably become difficult in a year's time, both in terms of environment and conditioning. I think there will be more opponents like that, so I want to cherish this match. Maybe I'll retire earlier than 5 years." Yeah, man, I really think that this match is going to be difficult nonetheless, with these two guys not really being in their prime anymore. Yeah, we did a poll on this card, and it turned out better than I actually expected it, because I am really not interested in this card, and at this point, I don't think that I'm going to watch the entire show. I would really rate this rather uninteresting, like most of our Twitter followers did. So 45% of them said rather uninteresting, 13 said not interested, while 33 said good card, and 7.7 said they loved the card. Dylan, where are you here?
I mean, you will not watch this show. I had expected that, and you've already said it. You have no shame in admitting that.
I don't have any shame, no.
Nor should you, when you look at what they put together. But, first of all, I have a question for you, Strig. I have a little bit of trivia right now. So don't look it up here. I need an honest answer from you. Where did Kaito and Oiwa finish in the tag league? What was their ranking in A block?
I think they had 4 points, didn't they?
They did. Where was that ranking?
Near to the bottom.
Last.
Very near to the bottom.
Yeah, last place in A block. So good for them. Like,
sure.
What happened to Keno saying, "Don't come back if you don't get results"?
He didn't listen. That punk.
Yeah, he doesn't have to listen. I don't need results to be in Noah. Yeah. I mean, the main event. This is Ibushi's basic...
Can we just, before we go to the main event, just quickly reflect that last year at this point in time, Kaito Kiyomiya was the GHC heavyweight champion?
As astonishing as that is to say.
That is a fact.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, they built the whole show around, or well, not the whole show, but their match...
Yeah, it was a major story, actually.
Yeah, of them not getting the main event. That was a big story. Yeah, we've talked about Kaito ad nauseum. Like, you know, it is what it is at this point. The main event... I think this is Ibushi's last chance to show he has anything left in the tank. Because, I mean, he has not looked like the Ibushi that existed before he was gone for all those years. Marufuji, he is a question of motivation, I feel like, because when he's been put in position to have big matches against Jake Lee and Will Ospreay this past year, he's delivered twice. And he will probably do everything he can to make this match special. So it's really on the shoulders of Ibushi, who's looked horrible for over a year now in his limited experience in the ring. It'll be interesting to see what this show does in terms of a drawing factor, because they put a lot on him, and there's really no evidence that he's a draw outside of New Japan at the moment.
There's not.
But he has not had a major singles match in Japan yet either. The GLEAT match was a multi-man goofball tag, which never was going to do anything. This is his chance to prove that he's got something left in the tank as a star and as a wrestler in the ring, because I'm about ready to close the book on him as a fan. I wonder, I was listening to Emerald Flow Show with a friend of the show, Gerard DeTrolio, on there, and they were speculating that the way he left New Japan may have impacted his stats with the fans.
Without having listened to that show, but shout out to them, I would have made a similar point. And I would say that not only did that have an impact on the fans' view of him, but it also had a major impact on him and his not his entire game only, but the way that he thinks about pro wrestling right now, because these series of tweets really showed the dark side of wrestling, and Ibushi always was the complete opposite of that. And I think that really wears heavy on him.
That's a great point. In addition to the fans, he himself had to be weighed down. It still is like that. I totally agree with what you said, Strigga, honestly. But if you look at the announcement of this match, it was not met positively.
No.
And not
because
just
it's just the second year in a row where the main championship is not on the main event.
And that was my fear of them doing something like this, that this would enamor this kind of reaction. And, I mean, this isn't just me and you, and I love the Eastern Lariat, I love our fans, but the Japanese fans are what the companies themselves will always look for most. Those were the fans that were mad about this. Like, at the end of the day, they've made so many public statements trying to justify this main event that the fans clearly did not accept. And maybe
it had to happen because, much like we said a couple of shows ago, they did everything in their power to not have a homegrown star to headline this show.
That's the problem. Like, that's why I defended Soya getting the title shot, even though he's a mid-card guy. There just aren't any better options at this point. Yeah. But it's not because of the wrestlers. And you look at the poll, and I said this. It goes to show that even with how terrible things are right now in this company, the fans, and a portion of the fans, are not out on this roster because there's a lot of great talent here that you could do a lot with. And they don't do that with them, obviously. I mean, like you said, Daga and Eita, junior title.
You know who they think probably is a big star and who they treat as somewhat of a star is Hayata, actually.
Yeah, I mean, he's been their most protected guy.
Absolutely, and he's in a big match.
And one that really doesn't make any sense for him to be in when you think about it.
No.
He has nothing in common with
Tanahashi. To Tanahashi is somewhat of a statement, right?
It is, and that's great for him, but I don't see that in him at all. They've tried for the better part of 5 years now with him largely holding a title in this company. And maybe there's some metric that they have that I don't know about or nobody knows about that determines Hayata as a superstar to the fans of Japan. But I don't see that ever when I watch his matches, I have to say, whether it's his work or the fans or whatever. I do not see him as the next Tanahashi or anything like that. I think that match is clearly to help out New Japan, like to give them a Road 2 match pretty much for the TV title. And they just picked, Ogawa has been a long-time veteran. Hayata, they've given so much into, so why not put them in there? The two matches that I like Kitamiya and Ishii. That's a match I didn't think they were going to get to. I mean, they had that thread last year that they had something, and we never really got a big match out of it. So let's. I think that match will be a banger.
The issue, though, is on a card with 13 matches, how much time is this realistically going to get?
That's true. You're right about that. And they're going to want to have a lot of time for the main event as well. There's probably going to be special entrances, things like that take probably 10 or 20 minutes on its own. Just
this entire main event is going to take like 40 to 50 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. And then you got the heavyweight title match, which is probably to go 30 to 40 overall when it comes to entrances and stuff. So yeah, I could see that ending with Ishii and Kitamiya having a really quick, hard-hitting, fast-paced match, which would still be good at the end. And I'm interested in Sugiura and Sasaki. I don't really know anything about him other than he's an MMA guy. But if there's one guy I could trust to have any match with anybody, it would be Sugiura.
I saw the Monday Magic show where Sugiura gave him the Olympic Slam, and it was the most well-protected Olympic Slam I've ever seen.
And like I said, he's still an active MMA fighter, so I don't foresee him having this great wrestling run where he's here, he's going to be a full-time active Noah guy.
Well, the match is called Road to Pro Wrestler.
Exactly. Well, then he is on that road, and I expect the match to be good. Honestly, like even though it's still new, I expect Sugiura to get the most out of him. And like I said, I would say the same as Sugiura was facing anybody in a singles match. So hopefully he can be a guy that turns into somebody. And I know it's his dream to be a wrestler too. He's spoken at large how he's such a big fan, and that's going to help him put his maximum effort in. He's not in here doing goofy stuff. So I like that. Keno and Soya, I think will be a great match. Honestly. Say what you want about the star power or whatever, or it being in the semi-main event. I think they're going to be – Keno, once again, will be so motivated. and he's kind of twisted the words of the moronic president and kind of made it into a story once again, almost, for him to overcome these odds with trying to overcome the company, which is kind of the base of his character anyway. So it really all worked out in that sense. Soya, I think, will be very motivated. The first time he's in a major main event spot, I think they're going to go all out. The problem with the match is that, there's very little chance Soya will win. So it's not that interesting from a wins and losses standpoint, but I think the match itself will be good. So I can see why people are not wanting to throw away this card, because there's matches on here that can be very high quality. And even the junior tag team title match, they're on a great run right now.
I love the team. I love DRAGONGATE and Alpha Wolf.
Yeah, and you've got guys in there. Yohei and Tadasuke have been a really good team. Ninja Mac is always over, going to electrify the fans. And Ariake, Alejandro, one of the most underrated juniors. So that this can be a good show, just in terms of match quality. It's just everything surrounding the company. It's just a huge stink on it, and that's going to take anybody's interest down, in my opinion. Real quick, what do you think about Alejandro and Kaito challenging for the Dragon Gate?
That's a cool change. It was once again very funny to see that Kaito Kiyomiya can be a star in any other company but his own.
I mean, he's not a star in New Japan at all. He was last place in the tag division, so.
Oh yeah, can be a guy.
And he'll probably lose this tag title match.
I mean, sure he's going to lose. That's why Alejandro is there.
And it'll be a great match. I mean, DeCourage versus those two. I mean, that's the most interesting thing Dragon Gate has right now.
I agree. And it's funny that Alejandro is there because obviously New Japan doesn't want their guy to lose to a Dragon Gate team.
Right, huh?
In Oiwa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
Because they are not a team, Kaito and Alejandro.
Yeah. It's a shame too, because I think Kaito and Oiwa are a fantastic in-ring team. To be honest with you, they go together really well. Oiwa has a great presence to him. The funny thing is, when he came out, Alejandro came out to Kaito's music on Dragon Gate, which was very funny to make the challenge.
Funny.
But yeah, Oiwa and Kaito are a great team. Alejandro is a very talented guy. I'm sure the match will be great. But yeah, like you said, Oiwa, they didn't want him to do the job to Yoshioka or whatever there. And instead, he gets the pleasure of facing House of Torture on the Noah show. So good luck, Oiwa and Kaito, to have something. Who do you think wins that match?
Which one?
Kaito and Oiwa versus House of Torture.
I think House of Torture wins.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Big star, Kaito.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I feel about the show. There's good stuff on there. Monday Magic's very fun to watch.
I agree.
There's good matches on this show. There's, like I said, it's just a stink of the company, and there's no real interest. There's nothing to put your heart into as a fan unless you really have to try, pretty much, to do it. And you can have other companies that do that, and you don't have to try so hard to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. We're going from a company that has severe issues to put their own talent into big match situations and have them become stars to a company that really accomplished pushing a lot of their own young talent to become stars in All Japan Pro Wrestling. And they just once again did that at the final day of the Real World Tag League, where not only did Dan Tamura capture a big victory over Naruki Doi to win the Junior Battle of Glory and hopefully becomes the new junior champion, but also Hokuto Omori was able to defeat former Triple Crown champion Yuma Aoyagi to win the Real World Tag League with Katsuhiko Nakajima. In a result that we too did not expect. We expected Miyahara and Aoyagi to come out on top, especially to put some more steam behind the challenge at the end of December. But here it is. They have all the chips with Katsuhiko Nakajima. He's the Triple Crown champion. He's the winner of the Real World Tag League, and he's going to challenge for the Triple Crown, for the World Tag title at the beginning of the next year, which is another talking point. So Omori, great stuff in the end with Yuma Aoyagi. We had great interactions also with Nakajima and with Miyahara in prelude to their Triple Crown match. This rated 8.44 on Cagement. I enjoyed this tremendously. I thought it was a very, very good final for this tag league that had some good stuff on that. We also had Honda and Ansai picking up the win that, like we predicted, going up to 9, also maybe challenging for the World Tag title. So, yeah, it was a real effective tournament for All Japan, I'd say.
Very effective. And last week, everything we predicted came true, except for the final, went the other way. Because we thought it would be Kento and Yuma at the end of the day. And I thought that match was so damn great. On top of it, like you said, in terms of like accomplishing things and gaining something from the tournament, counterbalancing the New Japan Tag League, I thought this was brilliant booking, like up and down, like so good how they did it. Hokuto gained so much from that win at the end. Yeah. And this whole story, like even if they didn't win, and let's say Kento and Yuma had won, Hokuto still kind of won through the tournament because he had already kind of warmed up. Like Nakajima had gained some respect for him by the end, so he'd already accomplished his story, and then they just had him win anyway, which is what you should do. Like, why do you have to stop when you're trying to make new stars? Like, you shouldn't stop. You should do it, and they did it. And I thought he gained so much from that win. Getting the pinfall. It wasn't like Nakajima won. Hokuto got the win in the end over Yuma, beating a former Triple Crown guy, avenging his loss from his hometown in July. I thought it was so smart and so good, and they've successfully elevated yet another great player in here.
That's the thing, you said it. He's avenging the loss. And while avenging the loss, it's not like this is some kind of 50-50 booking, but it is their own guys elevating one another while wrestling each other a lot in different situations. That's just, much like you said, this is great booking throughout this show, throughout this league, and throughout the last couple of months. And yeah, man, I'm just so high on this company. That's they're doing great business, and the Saito brothers are just another example of just that. I mean, we said it on the last show, Rei Saito being in the Deakin Grand Prix, you wouldn't have thought that he would play a good role in there, but he is. Him and his brother Jun as the G Infinity champions, they are playing a good role in Great as well. So it's been a great year for them too.
Oh, they're cooking all around this year. All Japan, with any tournament, one of your goals should be, if you're logical, you don't have to have them win like they did here, but you want to elevate a new guy to a new height. You know, like in every tournament, that should be a goal.
Yes.
Like no matter what you're doing. In the Champion Carnival, you had that with Ashino winning the tournament. Here in the Real World Tag League, you had Hokuto Omori winning the tournament, doing great. And in New Japan, you had Hikuleo beating the guy who was put over both times, like and elevated. So that kind of shows you the differences in between the companies right now.
And don't underestimate that Ryukyu Honda was also a focal point of the Royal Raw tournament, right?
Yeah, he made the finals. He got a great title match. Yeah, he's another one that they've done a great job. And Anzai, I mean, he just elevates himself in every match pretty much. Yes. Like, he could wrestle nobody, and I think he'd still get elevated. He's so great. That tag team was awesome. I sang the praises last week of the Kento Yuma and Honda and Anzai match, which is still, like, an amazing match to me, like, from a wrestling perspective. This was great, and I think elevated because of the finish and just everything surrounding it. But all four men did a great job as well. Again, there was really no weak link at all. And you've got a guy now in Omori that, come Champion Carnival time, I think he needs to be a guy that needs to be a contender at this point. I'm not saying win or even win the block, but he needs to get points and be a guy that gets a major win there too. And what a difference a year makes from getting 0 points in the junior league to now this. You know, at the end of the day, just a great change. I don't know what, if anything, changed from last year to this year, but I mean, God, it's a totally different side of the coin, and they've had a fantastic year up and down. So many success stories.
And you noticed, too, that he got his body in shape. He started out this tag league wrestling in a shirt, and by the final, he dropped the shirt, and he looked, I wouldn't say he looked shredded, but he looked much better than he looked before.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got great things. Ashino's coming back soon as well. You're getting another player coming in.
Yeah, there's no new matches announced for Yoyogi at this point. We've been through the card last time. So it's just only these 4 matches that we had last time too. There's a couple of more shows. I think they're going to announce the final card around the 21st when they have the New Age Chronicles Z show. That's booked by Rising Hayato. So that's going to be the time frame, I think. Yeah, but Dylan,
everybody on that Rising Hayato show should come out with eyeliner and glitter.
Yes, they should. And they did this. They booked this funny 3-way tag match where they have Dan Tamura and Ayato Tamura take on Ayato Yoshida and Katsumasa Yoshida, and Koki Iwasaki and Toa Iwasaki. They just had a great time booking this card.
I just love that Toa Iwasaki is getting a spot now. I mean, a guy we haven't heard of from in so long, and now he's back. And a great team, with Koki.
Yeah, it's great, yes. Another great match on that card is the Saitos against the Ariagis. So more brothers fighting.
Yeah, brothers versus brothers. I love it. Love this card.
I'm going to wait and see what they still have in store for the 31st in Yoyogi. Question here is, we figured that Katsuhiko Nakajima would only be in for a short run and then go on a different path, but now they announced him and Hokuto Omori challenging for the World Tag Title in early January. What do you think happens on the 31st? Is he retaining? Is he dropping? And is he probably going to be here for a longer run?
I just cannot imagine them having Kento lose twice to him. Like, if Nakajima had not won the first one, I would be much more willing to believe he'd win this one. Yeah, but I just don't think Kento will lose twice at the end of the day. The tag team situation is interesting. Do we know when that's taking place?
Yeah, on the 14th.
Yeah, so yeah, that gives them a little longer with him. We kind of speculated about that when he left Noah originally, that we thought maybe he could have a nice little short. I still think ultimately he will end in New Japan, but if you could give him another extra couple of months, why not? Like what would be the harm in having him hold out to the G1, for example?
Sure, yeah.
If that's the plan. Why not do something? You could have him in the Champion Carnival, maybe run through a lot of matches that you couldn't have before. And I think it's actually more vital now, because as much as I love the final of the Real World Tag League, and I love that it elevated Omori, I do have to bring up again that Aoyagi took the fall here, which I didn't love how they handled the title loss in general. And his big win over Kento, even more so, I think should have been made a much, much bigger deal out of, in my opinion. I think he's a guy that would really benefit everyone involved if he was able to get a win over Nakajima and kind of get back on his horse, which he's kind of it's looked shaky like lately. So if he could get a big win over that, you could have Nakajima maybe drop a fall to another guy, maybe even Hokuto. That could be Omori's big win in the Carnival, ideally. And he finally, because even after they won the title, they still kind of like were shoving each other and stuff like that. Like they could finally have a big hug or handshake or whatever after the Champion Carnival match. I could be down with that. And I think he's a great guy to have for All Japan in general in his role. They've done some good numbers too in the Real World Tag League as well. I don't see any negative towards him staying.
Yeah, this final show did 1,443 fans.
Yeah, and he's definitely a big part of that. So you have to give him a lot of credit, and the way they've utilized him. And the thing is, when Nakajima and Kento are fighting each other, it's just a whole different vibe than anybody else. And they've done a great job. The workers themselves deserve the credit even more than any booking or anything. But they've done a great job of continuing that. Even after their first matchup at the Dome show with Muto, they had that same energy, and they still have it going into to December 31st, which is a great testament to their skills, both of them. And I think that it will continue afterwards. The tag team, I think it would be interesting. Like if they want, because the thing is, when I'm thinking about Omori, you don't want to lose the momentum. You don't want him to take the fall and then I feel like lose a little bit of momentum. But also the tag run, I have a hard time believing that's long term for them. So it could go either way, really, how they want to do it. There's also the possibility that they could do some kind of time limit draw with Kento and Nakajima and stretch things out for a third match. If if they want to think business-minded.
But there would be a 60-minute time limit draw. That I mean, they could go.
They've done it before with
Yeah.
Jake and Kento there and other guys as well. So I don't think it's impossible that they do that. It's a lame finish to your biggest show of the year.
It is, but business-wise, it could make sense.
No, business-wise, it definitely makes sense. But you're burning the fans in attendance that night because you have to wait until next time to see the conclusion. And if it were another show, I would totally advocate for it. But with the fact that is their biggest show in Yoyogi, I think they probably will want to go with the clean finish. That's just me. If it did a draw, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I'd say, okay, this is a great decision business-wise, and I'm sure the match. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to move the awards back because we need to see this second chapter of Nakajima and Kento before we start giving out matches of the year. Right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So Yoyogi, much like I said, no new matches announced. What they announced is that on February 9, they will have the Nippon TV 70th anniversary. I think that's in Kurken Hall. They announced that both Noah and All Japan Pro Wrestling will have at least a match. I don't have the exact words in front of me, but there's going to be involvement from both companies, so that's really good, especially for All Japan having a presence on Nippon TV once again. That should get more eyeballs on both companies.
Yeah, always cool to see these kind of like inter-promotional anniversary style shows. Like you said, hopefully get some different fans who maybe wouldn't check out one, check out the other. Good for everything. I don't think there'll be any big matches on there. Maybe some multi-man tags, but still, it should be fun.
Yeah. So that's All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Wait, they announced one other thing. Who is the assassin?
Oh, yeah. Oh, the assassin. Of course. How could I forget the assassin? I'm so sorry. Yes, that was going to be another point that I brought up because on January 3rd, the Triple Crown champion is supposed to have another Triple Crown defense. Or, well, it's either another defense or his first defense. It's either Nakajima or Miyahara against a special assassin that the president is going to prepare for that match. That could really be anyone.
Yeah. I first of all, I totally agree with Nakajima's point that another title match so soon really is stupid.
That's the difficulty of their scheduling now that they have introduced this new show. They traditionally run Kurken Hall on January 2nd and 3rd and didn't want to change that. And now they have this new show on the 31st. So they have big matches on these two shows every year, and they didn't want to change. So that's a difficulty here. Could it be that they run this show and have this guy be a mystery opponent until the very last point of the show?
Thankfully, it's not like they're not running a bigger building.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if they wanted to attempt something like that, they could get away with it, but I don't think they will. I do think they'll announce it, even if it's just the day before. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, you've only got 3 days in between the Yoyogi show and this, so it's not like you could build this grand story in 3 days. They're going to have to announce them short term, one way or the other.
It could also come out after the main on the December show.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what the logical thing you would think would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on the 2nd, because they'll have the show then if they want to do that. But again, whether it's the 2nd or they do it in the main event, you're still looking at a couple of days at the end of the day. So we'll see how it goes. The assassin, I don't know. We had a lot of speculation.
Yes.
There
was a lot of people said Kensuke Sasaki.
that is impossible, but yes, that would be fun if that happened. What about Kawada?
He's not retired.
Exactly, he never retired.
And I don't think he's in shape to wrestle.
No, he's not. He's not in shape, but he did not retire as well.
Yeah.
What about Great Muta?
Yeah, I was just thinking about a guy from both guys' past. That would be Masakita Miya.
And hey, on Monday Magic, they have had guys from All Japan show up on there. Anzai was on the show recently. Hayato was on the show recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not like, we kind of speculated a few months ago that maybe there was heat between the relationships, but it's not completely dead, at least. They still got that thread, at least working together somewhat. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Kitamiya going for the title. That would be like a perfect segue too. Like,
What if I just have this idea in my mind? What if you said that Yuma Aoyagi lost the title, here he lost the fall. What if after the main event they go back to the German suplex they had years ago when Yuma Aoyagi shockingly turned on Kento Miyahara? How about they have that again and they transition the title back to Yuma Aoyagi?
That I don't like the idea of, but the idea of him. The thing is, people forget because they didn't use him right during this era, and he didn't really get as much as he should have. He was a great heel. Like when they turned him for that brief period.
Whenever he shows some attitude, I mean, just go back to the October match with the Saito brothers where he worked heel in the Saito's home city.
Yeah, or even at the Muto Dome show where he trolled the entire dome. Like I said, Aoyagi to me, I always say it, he's like Dante from Devil May Cry. He's a good guy deep down, but he's also a prick. Like, he can't help himself. And he's so enjoyable to watch for that reason. So, yeah, they can always tease that or do something to that. I don't like the idea of building this big match and then changing it 3 days later, no matter who the thing is. And it also wouldn't fit, in my opinion, to have... To me, the hired assassin should not be an All Japan guy. It should be an outsider.
Yeah. It should be.
And I don't know who that would be, of course. I like your idea of Kitamiya. You could even have him... Let's say New Japan wins all their matches on the Noah show, except for one, and Kitamiya beats Ishii. And he can announce that he's gunning for, the title, like there, to either avenge his former friend that he still likes him, or to kill his former friend that they're enemies. Whatever. I like that idea a lot, actually. Otherwise, who from DDT? What about Takeshita?
Yeah, he can't lose.
Yeah, you're right. Another draw. Back-to-back 60-minute draws for Nakajima.
Wow.
Okay, let's see. And they're going to have a presence on the show, too, in Yoyogi, too.
Yes, Yuki Ueno and Toi Kojima. It's not that anyone could challenge for the Triple Crown from...
Yeah, neither of those two could win. Ueno's the champion of DDT, and Kojima's a rookie, so it wouldn't be him. Mm-hmm. Who's the most assassin-like player of DDT that you could have? What about somebody from GLEAT?
Yeah, I was thinking about GLEAT. T-Hawk is on the show too. Maybe T-Hawk is dropping the title too.
Yeah.
So...
I really loved Kento when Kento and T-Hawk teamed for that match last month. I thought they were a great team. Like I said, he's even more of a prick than Yuma. Like, he has a Yuma-ish vibe to him, but he's like more slanted evil than Yuma who slants good, at the end of the day. So I don't know. I don't know overall. But that would be a good pick. Maybe it'll be somebody just totally off the wall.
I hope it's somebody completely off the wall. That would be a great start to the new year.
What if they bring somebody back from the past in All Japan?
Who would that be?
Jake Lee.
Hey.
If they wanted to do a Noah show, a Noah collaboration.
I mean, he's supposed to be an assassin, right? He's pointing guns at people when he's throwing his big boot.
Yeah, he's got the hat.
He's got the hat.
Yeah.
Everything that an assassin needs, right?
The Underjaker. Coming into All Japan. I don't know. It should be interesting, though. I like the idea. I don't love the idea of the title match. I wish they had just said the Triple Crown match would be on the 14th or whatever.
Yeah.
Just give it a few weeks to build anticipation, in my opinion, rather than a 3-day build.
What would be amazing? If Wagner Jr. really hasn't re-signed with Noah and he just walks into All Japan.
That would be cool. I mean, that would be a great match if he faces either Kento or Nakajima.
Yep.
So yeah, there's options with all the companies that All Japan has worked with recently. You could bring in a guy like that. Maybe it'll be one of the guys that got fired from WWE 3 months ago. Like that, because their 90 days are coming up in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if any of those guys have a hankering to wrestle in All Japan. What about Mace?
I don't know.
Mace Madden, DPW alumni.
Yeah, sure.
But there's options. So long story short. And like I said, my only problem is I wish that the title had taken place later. But other than that, it's still kind of cool. And I like the storyline of bringing in a new guy to fight for this president for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, why would the guy fight for the president?
Yeah. What? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is kind of a goofy story, like honestly, when you think about it. But it gives you a big match, and that's all that matters. If it's somebody that's really cool that gets the people talking, it doesn't matter why they did it, ultimately.
Yeah, sure. So I quickly want to go over the Final Gate card since you brought up the Kaito and Alejandro challenge. It's not a card that I'm really hyped for. There's few storylines in Dragon Gate that really hook me, except for the big hug team of Luis Mante and Hio.
Big hug.
But yeah, even they are not in a great match here. So it's in the opener. Natural Vibes, Jason Lee, Yuti, and Jackie Funky Kamai take on Ryoya Tanaka, Kaito Nagano, and Daiki Yanagiuchi, the young guys on the roster. Second match opened the Brave Gate title. Hio defends against Geki Horiguchi. Horiguchi got a pinfall victory over KZ at a recent show, which set up the title challenge here. Then M3K, Masaki Mochizuki, Susumu Mochizuki, and Yasushi Kanda face Ultimo Dragon, Don Fuji, and Kagetora in a total nothing match. Then they have the Final Gate 2023 Christmas special 8-man tag that's going to be decided by a lottery, and that tells you that they don't have anything for these wrestlers in this match, especially for Natural Vibes and Gold Class. It's KZ, Big Boss Shimizu, Strong Machine J, Kota Minura, Ben K, BB Hulk, Naoki Doi, and Shuji Kondo. Man. Title matches on the card. Yamato, Dragon Kid, and Punch Tominaga defend the Triangle Gate against Zebrats, Kai, Ishin, and Yoshiki Kato. Yoshiki Kato is the new Lost Post on Zebrats' team. There's going to be changes as well in the stables in Dragon Gate at early 2024. Twin Gate title, D-Courage, Yuki Yoshioka, and Dragon Daya defend against Kaito and Alejandro, much like we said. And we open the Dream Gate title into the main event in a three-way match. Madoka Kikuta was inserted into the storyline between Shun Skywalker and Luis Mante because for the life of them, they can't think of a storyline that Madoka Kikuta fits in. Amazing. This guy has been champion since May, and they struggle so much to find a fitting story for him. So it's a three-way. He defends against Shun Skywalker and Luis Mante. Yep.
They basically tried to kind of insert him into the Mante and Shun deal where he was like, no, I'm the champion.
I am Ichiban. I am Ichiban.
Yeah,
Ichiban.
Yes, they did that for like 3 minutes straight.
It was so annoying. They did that again on the last Sunday's show, by the way.
Yeah, when I was talking about it on Dream Dragons, we were talking about it, and Yannick liked it a lot, and I thought it was like I'm with you. I thought this is really goofy at the end of the day, and not entertaining me. But like you said, no storyline for Kikuta. He's the champion since May. At least they're giving him something by inserting him to the one good storyline they have, and at least the triple threat is something different. It's not something that gets my blood pumping or anything like that, but if it's between this and just a random Dreamgate title match, I guess I'll take this, especially since I think that it'll lead to a change. Like I don't think that they're doing this just to have him retain again. So, and I'm very excited to get somebody else as the champion, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's Dragon Gate. Moving on to the second to last topic, actually.
Okay.
Another one that just came out because the Tokyo Sports Awards just
yeah, I saw that. I was going to bring that up to you. Yeah, you're on the ball.
Breaking news here. So let's talk about GLEAT before that.
Yeah.
I recently sat down and watched their November shows and the one on the last weekend they did. And I want to say that in comparison to the road to their Sumo Hall show, I think that they have somewhat found a model that they want to go after, especially the main event for the upcoming Tokyo Dome City Hall show. That's going to be T-Hawk defending the G-Rex title against Hayato Tamura, has been built up really well. So it's not like they are throwing everything against the wall anymore. They have these weird matches sometimes where they, for example, they had this battle royal at the show last weekend where it was Galeno Demal, Hartley Jackson, Aja Kong, Masato Kamino, Daisuke Sekimoto in the match. That was weird. But for the most part, they really found a path for most of their big-time matches. They have the G-Rex title in the main event, T-Hawk defense against Hayato Tamura. Then they did a tournament to find a challenger for Fujita Juna Hayato for the Limited UWF World title. They have Soma Watanabe and Yuya Suzumu. They became a team in GLEAT. They challenged the Saito brothers for the tag title. That's going to be a fun big guy versus smaller guys tag team match. Then they also did a story where Kaito Ishida became the guy who is going to face Takehiro Yamamura in his return match after, when was his last match? 2017, I think?
Yeah, 18. It was late 2010s.
Yeah, just looking that up. Yeah, 2019 it was.
Yep, that's what I thought. Yeah,
2019. So coming back after all the time, after that horrific injury that he suffered in that match in Wrestle One back in the day. So he's coming back. Then, on the bottom of the card, we have like Kazuma Sakamoto and Jack Shimatani against SBK and Takuma. They've been cold from the moment they walked into this company.
Yes.
We have a little double bout. It's Maya Fukuda and Hikaru Shida against Tomoka Inaba and Asusa Inaba, the Inaba brothers, the Inaba sisters, Inaba sisters, sorry, against Fukuda and Hikaru Shida, Dylan.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I am very happy that they're trying all these different things, and somebody like Yamamura gets to come back, like you said, after the injury. The DJ days are over in GLEAT.
Yep.
He's back wrestling. Very cool to see. The tournament going to Fujita Hayato. Definitely want to see all of those matches that he can have. The women's match, Shida coming in. That means we know who's winning that match. And that's the tradition of this company. At the end of the day, if an outsider comes in, you know that they're going to get the win. But, I mean, they're all kind of outsiders, so it's fine. Outside of Fukuda as well. So at least that they're putting Fukuda in a position to where she can actually win something there. And the Inaba sisters are fantastic wrestlers as well, both of them. So that could be a really good match. The women's division in GLEAT is so weird that it's hard to get hype about anything, really. But the match quality is good with those four in there.
Yes, it is. I mean, the final match that's missing on this card is a 4-way 6-man tag match. It's Ryuichi Kawakami, Quiet Storm, and Galeno Demal representing Bulk Orchestra against Jan's family, Takanori Ito, Yusuke Kodama, and their pickup Tomoaki Honma against Black Generation International, Kotaro Suzuki, Hartley Jackson, and Keiichi Sato, and the free team, so to speak, Juntoncho, JD Lee, and Atsuki Aoyagi. Yeah, could be a fun match. As for the UWF title, why should we care for that? I mean, Fujita, it's great that he's in, but he hasn't been there since July, I think. And
he's there in August. He had the match in August, right?
Oh, in August. Yeah, in August.
Yeah, at Sumo Hall.
Right. It's really a sign what the company thinks about the title. Like, they gave the title away ever since Shima came in and became a big part of the booking in GLEAT. You knew that this title would become an afterthought because Shima is not a guy that is enamored with the style that they have, and so they just have this title, and every once in a while they do some matches with it, but for the most part it's just it's an afterthought and might as well not be there. Like, after the Strong Arts came in, the original idea of this company was quickly shifted to become a company that is revolving around the G Pro Wrestling part of it, and the little UWF became just, afterthought, much like I said.
Shima's style is more like Yuya Susumu than these pesky shooters like Fujita Hayato. He wants real stars.
Yeah, that's the card.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a good match, at least.
It should be a good match, sure. The card overall, I mean, they did some good stuff in the lead up to this, but I mean, they drew 226 fans to Shinjuku Face. It's just a company that just doesn't have a lot of stuff going for them.
I think that Sumo Hall show did a lot of damage, actually, for their reputation, and I think it really hurt them in a lot of ways. I didn't like... I thought the match was, like, better than expectation, honestly. T-Hawk and Kamino from last month.
I was pretty sure that this match was going to be good because I really am high on Masato Kamino.
But the problem is, and I like the match, like, don't get me wrong, like it was good, but I didn't like the finish at all. Like the throw in the towel, like I thought that was so goofy, and it didn't. And I think I would have liked it more if Ito was the one that was going to challenge, like that was going to directly lead to the next fall. But it didn't lead to anything. It just led to Tamura challenging, who had nothing to do with Kamino or Yan's family.
That's oftentimes the problem of this company that lots of things that they do just don't have any consequence.
Yeah, and I mean, do you need to protect Kamino, who's a fine worker? I agree, like he's good, but like, did we have to go the extra mile to protect him? I don't know, like so. That. Yeah, it was a good match, but the finish was like flabbergasting to me, considering where they went for it. And the fact is, I like Hayato Tamura, totally like him a lot. Do I think? The problem is with this match, we've already seen it. Like they had their chance at Sumo to make the champion.
Yes.
So I'm not really enamored with him going for the title. I actually think he'd be way better off if he was the assassin. Like let's say
I was thinking that too, but I'm really thinking that he's going to win the title here.
Exactly. Like if he wins the title, then that takes him out. But they also had him pin Kento in the tournament as well, which would seemingly set up a title challenge. And they need different title challengers for Kento if he were to win the title. So I think T-Hawk's going to retain.
Once again.
But I mean, I don't think he should, but I'm a fan. I think he's a really underrated guy, and he's done a lot of great work for them, and even in All Japan as well. But the title reign does need to come to an end. I just don't think they built this Tamura challenge up enough to where I feel like, yes, this is the right time for him to get that.
No, it's not the right time. August was the right time.
Exactly. If they'd done it in August, I would have had no problem at all. But because we have that in our rear view, and then there comes a third problem with all of this. If not him, who? I always ask this question when we're debating things. Who is the answer to take the title then?
The answer is another outsider.
And we don't want that at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, it could go either way, honestly. Like, my gut says this isn't the right time for him to win, but they could do it. And it's just a weird company overall. And like you said, they're kind of underrated in general because, again, there's really no bad parts to their roster. Like, just the people they put on their shows, there's mostly good. It's just the company's so damn weird. They don't know what they're doing. The titles don't mean anything. And when they tried, I think they've done good, except for the UWF title, honestly. Like, I think that the main title and the tag titles have both had strong title reigns for it. The Saitos are now getting over with the fans and stuff with GLEAT. It's just done a great thing. And UWF, they don't care about it. You're totally right about that. There's occasionally crazy luchadors and random ass people from the indies they bring on here. You're guaranteed to see somebody you might not expect on some of these shows pretty much when it comes to GLEAT overall. Like, for example, on that show, they're bringing guys from JTO on here. You're bringing in some crazy people. So it's a weird, crazy company, but it's not bad, honestly. Like, I can't say I don't enjoy their shows. And also, a thing that helps them a lot is the YouTube aspect of it, because you don't have to fiddle around with nonsense. You could just put YouTube on. You could even put that on your TV and just kick back for 2 hours. Their shows are usually not that long. They're usually around 2 hours. They're easy to watch. The vibe's okay. It's not a bad company overall.
Yeah, that's mostly it, yeah. So, fresh off the news here, the Pro Wrestling Grand Prix 2023, aka Tokyo Sports Awards, Dylan. Have you read the winners yet?
I have. First of all, let me shout out Mamaw, who came in here and gave me some Dairy Queen now.
Shout out.
Thank you, Mamaw, for that. That's why you are the best. But yeah, Tokyo Sports. You want me to run through them?
Sure.
All right, let's start from the bottom. We got to save MVP for last, just like on the much more prestigious and valuable Eastern Lariat Awards. Yeah, we can't just give out the MVP at first. So, the Newcomer Award. Saito Brothers.
Yes! One topic that I wanted to talk about is Rei Saito's amazing grunting, Dylan. I mean, everybody has said, oh yeah, they have improved so much wrestling-wise, but I think Rei Saito's grunting is really underrated. He has it down now so that the fans really react to it as well. I mean, I'm going to Wacken next year, and I could really imagine Rei Saito being the lead act of a death metal band.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, their theme song is 80s rock all the way. Not really death
and
metal.
The Scorpions are playing on Wacken, so.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, there you go. How about that? And, to kind of bring it back to where we started with New Japan, do you think, for example, the Saitos in Voodoo Murders helped them gain some of their, helped them grow to be where they are now, even though that part of their career sucked so much?
The first couple of months was goddamn awful when Taru was still there.
Yes.
After they let that go, that really helped them to develop their own characters. But the first part of that, the Voodoo Murders tour, I didn't like, and I was completely right there because it sucked.
Yes.
But after that, they were off and running.
No lies detected. So really what we're saying is we got to get Dick Togo, Gato, and Evil out of House of Torture, and you might have something with Red Naruto overall.
Show, maybe.
Yeah, show as well. But yeah, Saito Brothers, are they really newcomers? I mean, we're talking about
it's Tokyo Sports.
Yeah.
Last year, Yuma Anzai won. That was a great pick.
Yeah, well, that was easy. Yeah, that's the thing. They kind of go by their own rules, so we can't really go. Unlike the Eastern Lariat Awards, which is very serious and has great rules that everybody can follow.
Let's see when they actually debuted. Wait a sec.
Oh yeah, let's see.
They debuted in. It's for us. That's off the list. They debuted in June of 21.
Yeah, well, it's not that bad,
it's close.
Yeah, exactly. It's close enough when it comes to Tokyo Sports.
And it's great that they got an award because they had a great year.
Yeah, they really showed out, did some good things, and then I liked them a lot. It was Young Lions. Definitely agree with you that Voodoo Murder stuff at the start sucked, but now they've grown to be a very enjoyable act. So good stuff there. Women's Wrestling Grand Prize, Tom Nakano, Tom Road.
Yeah.
Double champion at one point.
Yeah, she was, and it's just part of that deal that storylines and championships won is really a big part of these gimmick awards.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what they are. Is very much political type of awards. Who newcomer awards? Who would have been the political option for let's say they wanted to give Noah. They don't really have any good newcomers, even though I like Ozawa a lot. He didn't really do anything. New Japan.
Just have Yuma Anzai win it again.
Just have him win it again. He's a double newcomer. Maybe we could find somebody from DRAGONGATE that got a big push. Well, he's a good worker, but I think they want guys who have win titles and get pushed and stuff like that. Did anybody new actually do anything besides just be good, which Tanaka is good?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So by the Tokyo Sports standards, I think that was a good pick. Tom, I mean, the whole Joshi scene up and down is so low right now. I think it would have to. Stardom is the only one even resembling a major company at this point, and Tokyo Joshi Pro is on the line at least, so we can count them too. The other ones are just so low Joshi wise and star power wise right now. It's never been lower for a lot of these companies. And it's really tough for them to put something on. Because there was times in years past, they would have Fujimoto when Ice Ribbon was doing good. They would put her on there. It's not like it's always been Stardom, uniquely. Sendai had people win as well in the past. But I think this year you would have to pick. I think Tom would have to be the pick in the kayfabe awards, pretty much. Being the champion, being the double champion. She never actually lost her title due to injury. She did lose the white belt, but I think that was the right pick for their standards. Again, I wouldn't vote for her in the Eastern Lariat Awards, though, for the record. Technique Award, Yuma Aoyagi. Again, these are very political awards. You knew they were going to give the New Japan guy the MVP, so they needed to give an All Japan award. And Ariake is basically their version of MVP. Same way for the Fighting Spirit with Keno. It's like, we're giving 3 MVPs, 1 for Noah, 1 for New Japan, 1 for All Japan, and this is who we picked.
Yep. And then there is another one that Noah got because they got the Fighting Spirit Award for Keno.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, they split them all out, but really, what does that mean exactly? Like, what about him as a fighting spirit? Like, shouldn't that be Fujita Hayato?
It really should be.
Yeah.
It really should be.
Yeah.
But Michinoku Pro, yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's what these awards are about, the technique and the fighting spirit. It's basically like, okay, who didn't get an award from the major company will give their best guy this. And obviously, like, if you're going to pick an All Japan and Noah MVP, I think those would be the picks. Like the champions. Yuma was a champion for much of the year. Keno's the champion now, and they've had the best years for their company. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with them.
No,
it's not like I would consider Yuma the best technical wrestler either. Like, but that's just
it's just name of the award. Yeah.
Exactly. Outstanding performance, Hiromu. Sure.
Well, yeah.
He wrestled a lot of different places.
And he did.
I wouldn't say he was outstanding when he wrestled in these different places by any stretch of the imagination.
He was outstanding losing the Ironman Heavy Metal title to itself.
Hirata should have won this.
Yeah. But he ultimately did. DDT was very smart about that.
Absolutely. Their true ace, Kazuki Hirata. But who would be the alternative pick for this award?
For the outstanding award?
Again, there's no real rules to this one either. Like, clearly political because he was the junior champion. They wanted to give him an award because he's approaching the record, and they didn't want to leave him off, so they put him here.
I guess so.
Yeah. And there's no real reason for it that you could think of. Again, like in the Eastern Lariat Awards, it'll make a lot more sense when we have our best in-ring performer and stuff like that. Best tag team, Bishamon?
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, they were the champions most of the year, won the tournament. Yeah, in the biggest company, so I don't see any problem with that at all. Again, it'll be interesting. The Tag Team Award is going to be really interesting when we get to our awards, because I think there's a number of good candidates, but none that are like, there's no obvious winner. Like, you can go a bunch of different ways. And I think like you said at the start of the show, I thought you made a great point that they should be considered at least, even if you don't vote for them. Best bout, Nakamura versus Great Muta. I really thought it would be Naito versus Muta, but again, I think this is political.
It is.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to have Naito win 2 awards.
Exactly. Like, that's the only reason that it happened this way.
Yeah.
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 And the MVP, like you said, Naito.
Obviously. Yeah, sure.
You can pretty much
won the G1 Climax. That's very obvious.
You can pretty much pencil it in. Whoever wins the G1 is going for the title, is getting this MVP award for Tokyo Sports. It doesn't even matter what you did, because Okada won it, before when he won the G1, and like, there's no real logic to it other than that. Like, we just want to use this to hype up the guy who's challenging for the title in the Dome, which is logical from a business perspective, but not. I mean, Naito, let's go over the idea. An impromptu MVP preview for our awards. What case would Naito have, in your opinion, to be considered the MVP of Japan this year?
Not a real great one, to be honest. I mean, he did win the G1, and he did retire. He did win over Muto. Yeah. But except for that, has he really been a main focus of his own company for the majority of the year? I don't think so.
He's not somebody I would even think about giving the award to personally.
No.
For me. Like, he wouldn't be in my top 5 candidates if I put it out there. So, yeah, it's a political award. These awards are great to get people talking, though. Like, the Tokyo Sports Awards always gets people to see something and see things from a different perspective. Again, not that dissimilar from a PWI, for example, in America, where you see the 500. Sure. It gets people talking. It's not like it's always that logical or valuable if you look at it from a certain perspective, but if it's a different way of looking at things, and I think that's important in its own right, even if I don't necessarily count it that way.
And once again, going back to Naito, I want to stress this. Our strategy at going going with the MVP is, what kind of a difference for the company did this guy make in this year? And I know that there was the amazing G1 Climax final that did a very good house for New Japan. But is it really that Naito made such a difference for the company that he's working with? And I don't really see that.
You can argue
he's making that at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, and they did build the Noah show around him in the main event, like him versus Keno. So it's not completely. It's not like it's out completely unthinkable, but it's not somebody. Again, there's other better candidates in my opinion. But again, we'll have to leave that up to our voters as well for our awards. You are very well welcome to vote for Naito if you would like to or think he deserves it. But for me. We might go over this in the next episode a little bit more about our awards more deeply, or just like a final preview type of deal overall. But MVP, Naito, congratulations to all the winners again. And to be fair to them, they also get a nice banquet that they'll be going to as well. We'll see some pictures from there. We'll see what happens there. But overall, again, the political awards gets people talking.
Can't wait for the Tom and Naito picture.
That's true. What will that be? What will that do to the internet? What will that do when Tom gives us lore on Naito?
Oh no!
Yeah, what will the lore be? Was she there when he won the double titles at the Dome? She was in the crowd. She was in the front row, perhaps. There. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's true at all. But why does it have to be true?
Sure, it's law. It doesn't have to be true.
Exactly. So, I'm glad that came out today just in time. We didn't miss anything. I was going to feel bad if we didn't get it in time.
And just one more thing on these awards is that Naito now has made it to a shared third place of winning the MVP 4 times along Genichiro Tenryu, Keiji Muto, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Okada won it 5 times, and Inoki won it 6 times.
Wow. I wonder if that'll be a big thing. That's a negotiating tactic they should use with Okada. Just say, hey, we'll rig it to where you get the MVP and beat Inoki's record. So you want to be Inoki?
I mean, they could do that nonetheless. Remember the year when Asuka won the Yoshi Grand Prix, even though she was in WWE?
Why not? I mean, there's no rules.
No, there is not. There really is not.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope we can see, because every year too, they have the voting tendencies, the patterns, because they'll do it where they'll be 10. And it's not. Yes. This is compartmentalizing, but 10 nominees. Then they vote, and then they knock it down to 5 nominees, and then they vote again, and then they have the final vote to determine the winner. Pretty much. The articles are not out yet as we're recording this.
Yeah,
it literally just popped up an hour ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it, Dylan. Great that we did this show, a very impromptu one because of all the happenings early in this week, but I really felt like that we had to get on the cusp of it, and I'm glad that we did.
Oh, I'm totally glad. It's you were the real MVP this week. I gotta say, I gotta give you props for that, and I really enjoyed talking about all this stuff, especially getting to something like GLEAT. We really haven't talked about that much overall, so I'm glad we got to do a little bit about that. I'm always happy to talk about any company that exists pretty much in pro wrestling. So, and they do exist. There's no question about that. They are not a
very low bar to clear, actually.
They are not a figment of our imaginations. They are a real company, believe it or not. Not all of the companies were real. New Japan, Noah, All Japan, Stardom. So we got a little bit of everything. And I think that's...
Believe it or not, Pro Wrestling Noah is a real company.
They are. I mean, they're very real. Look at all the money they're costing themselves. That's very real at the end of the day. But yeah, and I think that's, again, I always say this. I love that about this show, that I think we do it in a way that no other show would do, where you can really get a taste of everything pretty much in Japanese wrestling, whether it's a big company, or a smaller company, we kind of cover everything the best we can. So very cool stuff there. Big stuff coming ahead too in the next month or so. Obviously the big week, Wrestle Kingdom week, as New Japan has crowned it. There's going to be that. Lots of big shows up and down. Going to be busy. And we're going to have some fun stuff coming ahead in the Eastern Lariat as well. So really cool. Very happy to do the show.
Yeah, that we have. And with that, we close the show. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Sayonara.